sound.
Nope, no sound.
Well, what I was going to talk about today, and please bear with me, is the attack on our food supply by Bill Gates.
That son of a bitch.
I predicted Bill Gates would do everything in his power to get even.
You
Get even with
bastards.
what? For whatever happened as a child. He wants to get even with the entire human race. So he's going to spike the food now with mRNA. Okay, so two things we can do. One, nattokinase product that Peter McCullough is talking about, Dr. McCullough. Okay, it has nattokinase in it. Nattokinase dissolves the spike protein. I got to get me some. We got to get some. And I've been staying away from romaine lettuce for about a year. Now, I had some the other day. I did not feel good. I thought, well, maybe it's me. It's not me. I got a thing in my spirit that comes up. It tells me to stay away from the romaine lettuce. And I think I'm right on that. I think that's been tainted.
Tainted
But I
love.
can't prove it. The only thing I can tell you is I get that feeling to stay away. I don't know where it comes from, but I obey it because that feeling is what has kept me alive for the last 60 years. So I'm inclined to believe that that feeling is right, but I don't know exactly what it's based on. My gut tells me they're putting that spike protein in that lettuce, but I can't prove it. And it may not be across the board every lettuce, but it's an organic. That's right. They're looking for those people that are buying organic, not getting the jab. You know who you are. Well, they're on to you. So now they want to go infect the organic. No, not the regular food for the peasants, the organic foods. Those of you who think you can escape to Whole Foods and get away with it, you can't. Whole Foods is tainted. Take it off the list. Local grocers, local farms. That's all you're going to get. And they're coming for you. They're coming to kill you all. And they got a good fair amount with the spike jab. They've already been quite successful. Thank you very much. And they should be successful in wiping every human out on the face of the earth, which I believe is the goal.
I think you're right.
There's no New World Order planned. I told you there never would be a New World Order. I told you. There never would be. They're not planning some, sci-fi breakaway Star Trek thing.
No.
That that ship sailed. That little pipe dream of theirs failed. So, so the romaine lettuce, and I don't know what else, but I do know that with the nattokinase, you have a chance of keeping it at bay. But when you eat foods tainted with mRNA, it makes you tired. It makes you tired and defeated. You just don't feel like doing anything. You know what I mean? You just feel sluggish and depressed. And they're doing it to the whole world with glee, excitement and glee, with orgasmic glee. Yes, they're just glowing with happiness because you suffer. Well, I told people what you got to do. Nobody much listening to me though. But if you wanted to survive, you needed to start already gathering your armies and your tanks and your big guns. You know what I mean. At this point, the nihilists, they're not globalists because that's global annihilation. So what they're basically doing is they have the military, and the only reason I see for the United States being morally bankrupt the way it is, which is gross, where parents are cutting off their genitals of their kids and stuff. I mean, it's really beyond Sodom and Gomorrah. But that is for the purpose of conquering you. again, like I said the other day, you do not cut gonads off the males, testicles off the males, unless you have conquered the country. And the reason that, have you ever wondered why no one can stop it? Well, it's because everybody knows there's been a conquering. There's no surrender or anything, but it's already happened. And so they get the right to take the testicles. And if that changes, if people grow a backbone and challenge the conquering, then it would stop. But what does it have to do with LGBTQ, all that? It's nothing. It's got nothing to do with sex, any kind of sex. It has to do, it's an objective thing that civilizations do when one conquers the other. They take the gonads. That's a very common theme that it's hard to believe people are not educated about that, because it's very ordinary. I mean, it's very easy to understand. The males are made into eunuch slaves. The females are taken for breeding and concubines and whatnot, and or sold, as well as the children. And that's what you do. You know, that's what's always been done. There's nothing new here. This is all pretty much old hat. It's um, we really just don't have time to go through the educating about the warlords of China and the Genghis Khan and Constantine and the Roman Empire. But if you could just go back and glance at those, you would see, probably if you dug in deep enough about castration and or sacrifice, you would see that a lot of that goes on, that the conquered become the ones sacrificed, if you will. And so therefore they're allowed to do it, and they can take the food, and there's no law that stops them, because they've already won. And they demonstrated they won during COVID. COVID was the victory, and so now they can take the gonads. It's it may not look linear to you in the news; it comes all skewed. But basically, if you take the events and make them linear yourself on a chalkboard or just in your mind, you can see the progression, and then you can understand. Oh, this is what always happens. Yes, you don't see it going on in China. They're growing the males up to be male, to be strong, to be males. You don't see it in Russia, obviously. They don't have this issue. You're seeing it a little bit in Europe, where they're using pop stars and celeb tarts. Celeb tarts. Aren't you all so pretty? Aren't you such great people? And sending the celeb tarts around to make it trendy, so that people will jump in and castrate themselves. But make no doubt about it, the celebrities are shilling for the Bill Gateses and the Soroses and other people like that, the group. And the sign of the conquering was 2020, the election, Trump, the disease, the so-called pandemic, which there never was one, really. I mean, I think I was right to say they were spreading flu around. They were spreading something around, but I think we were wrong in assuming that there was that the vaccine. Well, I never did. I always said the vaccine was a bioweapon. They're going to use this flu as an example of core morbidity deaths went down to zero. So that proves in El Reverso style that the basically the flu was what was going on, and people were getting COVID vaccines to stop the flu. and they insist that COVID. I had COVID, and I talked to him briefly. Told me there was no real COVID, per se. SARS-2, CoV-2 per se, and that it was really the vaccine, the mRNA, that was the key to the future, along with the Bill Gates and DARPA and MIT created identity insert, goes under your skin. That's patent is 060606, and it is very clever, but it is basically what they call it, the mark of the beast. You can hold your powder dry if you like. I mean, there's no evidence that that would be exactly the mark of the beast, a la scripture, but it's hard to say chicken or egg, which went first. So, I wouldn't really mess with it. It's not something I want, but I understand if you inject it, it's injected with, 6, microdot. It's a microdot injection. And so these these needles push in the luciferase, and the basically the identity and the genetic codes and all that are in the luciferase, which is fat that illuminates, so they can see where it goes in the body, and then it changes the whole body to be acclimated to AI, 5G radiation, and to be turned into a robot. Otherwise, it's used for depopulation, where people, if they don't depopulate, remember we said that after the 3rd year would be the time when the most deaths would be happening. And now here we are coming after the 3rd year. Lo and behold, the deaths are increasing. And they'll increase even more in future, as we go forward in 5 years and even 10 years, with the idea being that no one would be the wiser. People wouldn't really understand. People wouldn't catch them because they would die at 50 of cancer. They might have lived to 70, but now they die at 50, or they die at 45. In other words, they're dying in ways that they could scoot by without people noticing there's any conspiracy. Very sneaky bastards. Okay? When they were robbed for 20 or 30 years of their lives. And that's what Billy's up to, Billy Boy. Billy Boy's got a ton of vengeance already, but he wants more. He's going for more. He doesn't like the way he's been treated lately, so he wants you to kneel. And he'll just keep killing you more and more until you kneel. And there is no force on earth, no force on the entire earth that will lay a glove on him or any of them. So that's where we're at. The conquered is the United States, according to Xi Jinping in 2020. He said, we conquered America without ever firing a shot. So he feels that it's China's America now. Biden is acting like a buffoon, so you don't call him out. And as more and more Americans get killed, he said, well, you should obey and take the shot. I've had 100 of them. He's never had a shot. He's only had placebo. He's too stupid anyways. But he is pure evil, man. Oh, boy, that man is evil. Now, there's evil for you. He looks no further. He may not be a cynical evil like a George Soros, maybe even, Gates. Gates is driven by revenge. I've always said it from day one. And he will be, trying to release another pandemic. Biden yesterday promised there would be coming up in the fall. But this time, the vaccines are mandated. You have to take it. This time, it's real. So I imagine it's going to be pretty bad. So I would encourage people to do whatever you got to do. Whatever medicine you think you should take.
Fuck that dude.
Gather those, try to have